Hey, shout out to Jody and Rebecca. I'm Ruby Carr, and this is the story of Sean Paul's Get Busy.
You know the songs.
Just making people feel something.
It's been a pleasure to work on this song with her.
But do you know the history?
It's a struggle making any kind of record.
I don't always have the direction or concept.
This is Encore, an in-depth look at the stories behind the music. Here's iHeartRadio's Ruby Carr.
Is there anything better than a song that pops up on the radio, a bar, or at a club, or even unexpectedly in a playlist, and it just makes you happy? I mean, I know we're in the business of documenting hit songs here on Encore, but I'd argue that the first seconds, actually, you know what, milliseconds of Sean Paul's super hit Get Busy are some of the most euphoric moments in all of music. Before I record an episode, I always listen to the song first, and it's true, I am in a good mood after just listening to it. It also brings me back to that time in my life too, so it's a mix of feeling good from the song and also just the nostalgia of it all. There's also just something about that call to action right at the beginning, shake that thing, the doubling up of the Kana-Kana and Annabella. It just captivates you even before the rhythm hits. I bet, and I totally didn't research this, Get Busy has to be one of the most fully listened to 3 minutes and 30 seconds in all of music, because once you press play, there's no way that you're shutting the song off until it's over. Even in an emergency situation, I'd be like, oh, my oven's on fire. Oh, well, it's all good. Just turn me on to the early morning. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. I'm going to deal with the emergency first. But then I'm going to turn Sean Paul back on. Sean Paul Ryan Francis Enriquez was born in Kingston, Jamaica in January 1973 to an English-Chinese mother and Jamaican-Jewish father of Portuguese descent. Now, while technically raised in a middle-class family, Sean Paul's father was incarcerated for manslaughter when Sean was just 13, his father spending most of Sean's teenage years in prison, depriving him of the stability of a father figure. Where Sean did find stability and influence was in Jamaica's vibrant and eclectic music scene. The sounds of reggae and dancehall captivated Sean from an early age. While often incorrectly used interchangeably here in Canada and in the United States, reggae and dancehall have some important distinctions. While reggae is more chilled out music, often consisting of your typical contemporary band member setup, guitars, keys, drums, and the like, dancehall is a higher energy form of music that's intended for clubs or dance halls. Here's Sean Paul breaking it down with Nam Kiwanuka from Much.
Now explain to some people, because there is a big difference between reggae music and dancehall music. What's the difference?
Basically, Jamaican music started years back, where you would have a thing called mental music, which was more mixed, I would say more African in a vibe. It came up to be something called reggae or rocksteady. Skia came out of that. So Jamaican music has different names over the years. Up into the early 80s, it was started to call dancehall or rockers. Dancehall grew, has been going now, and basically it sounds nothing like what reggae sound like back in the day, except for probably the way we talk or we sing on the track, our expression. The tracks have changed. It's more of a club music now, where reggae wasn't always club oriented. Dancehall is like one of the biggest club musics in the world. It plays in clubs from Canada here to Europe to Japan, you know, the whole of the Caribbean, the whole of the United States. It plays South America, you know what I mean, in every club. So it's a club music now. And that's what we're doing, club music basically.
Sean had a passion for dancehall, but didn't really have the time to dedicate to it at first. Why, you ask? Well, he was too busy training to become a professional water polo player, of course. Yes, the Enriquez were quite an institution in Jamaican water sports. You see, Sean's grandfather was on the first ever Jamaican men's national water polo team. His father carried on the tradition and played for the nation in the 1960s, as well as competing in long-distance swimming, and Sean's mother was a butterfly swimmer. But the call to music became too powerful for a young Sean Paul to ignore, specifically, as he told Vice, because of his own powerful call.
Every time I saw these gods on stage, I'm like, I could do that. But all along that time, I'm swimming for Jamaica, you know, from I was 13 years old, I was making the teams. There was one day I was right there on that corner. You see where you see those little stairs? My friend's father is here. And I'm calling my friend, I'm like, yo! And he was like, bro, Not everybody can shout that distance. You have a good voice, bro. It kind of clicked in my mind like, yeah, maybe I do have a good voice. Every day I'm training and I'm hearing like a rhythm in my head. And I come out the pool and I have lyrics. By the time I was 17, I was like, I'm gonna rhyme.
Now, obviously, just having a deep, resonant voice doesn't make you a dance hall superstar. But as Paul stated, even while training for swimming events, he was percolating lyrics and ideas for music. So by 17, he decided to take the plunge into music full time. I'm sorry I had to. 6 years in and free from the swimming lanes, Paul's career was basically going nowhere fast. Originally in the early 90s, while still leaning on his backup plans in hotel management and banking, Paul tried to find his niche in the socially conscious stylings of cultural reggae music, hoping to highlight the injustices of the Kingston ghettos and the world around him. But by the time he hooked up with his first mentor, manager, producer, DJ, security guard, Jeremy Harding, the writing was on the wall that nobody was going to believe in music like that from an uptown middle-class kid like him. Harding would work tirelessly with Paul to pull the party songs out of him. They would tell Vice,
he's like, bro, nobody don't believe you, you know that, right? You're not the person that's gonna be able to preach. So why don't you sing about what you are? And I'm like, what am I? What do you mean? He's like, you are the guy that goes into the dances and you talk to other guys' girlfriends and then you get a fight. And I'm like, bro, that was when I was an adolescent. And he's like, yeah, but that's you. Sing about girls, sing about party. I was like, all right.
He's a charismatic girls man from back in the day. Girls would call the house, hi, is Sean there? And like hang up. Once he started singing songs about girls, everybody was like, yeah, that sounds like you.
And I started expressing myself more that way and just becoming more of myself in the song.
By 1998, with the production stylings of Harding at the forefront, Sean Paul finally released his first ever local hit, a party song called Baby Girl. Recently re-released in 2022 to celebrate 20 years of his album Duddy Rock, Baby Girl is fine. As with many demos and early works of artists, the production is thin and the hooks are shaky. You can hear the Sean Paul we all know and love in there somewhere, but it wouldn't blow up many radio waves these days. Paul's first real break into the American music scene would also happen to be in 1998 as a guest artist on the song Top Shotter with DMX and Mr. Vegas. Released as a part of the soundtrack to the cult classic crime drama film Belly, the album featured a who's who of hip-hop artists of the time, including Jay-Z, Method Man, Ja Rule, as well as Nas and the aforementioned DMX. Now that Sean Paul was a bankable name in Jamaica with a bubbling underground sound both at home and in dancehall hot pockets like Miami, DC, and Atlanta, Sean was signed to legendary Caribbean-owned record label VP Records. Here's much as Nam Kiwanuka talking to VP Records founder Vincent Randy Chin about what they liked about Sean Paul.
You know, VP, we've been around for a long time. We sort of understand the nuances of the music and understand the culture. So it's really important that that we're there to nurture and support as the artist grows.
We're going to be talking to Sean Paul soon. What was it about him that you liked?
Well, I mean, he definitely has, I guess what they call in the business, the total package. You know, he's got the looks, he's got the talent. You know, he's really a great performer and he's got it together.
VP agreed to release Sean Paul's first proper album, Stage 1, in the year 2000. Although the less said about lead single Deport Them, the better. Originally released in 1998, but included on Stage 1, the general theme of the track is that if a woman doesn't meet Sean Paul and his crew's definition of beauty or style standards, they should be metaphorically deported. Yeah. With initial sales of roughly 100,000 copies, Stage 1 was basically considered a solid effort from Sean Paul, but his sound was nowhere near mainstream yet. In order to achieve that, he'd need a little bit of help from some Canadians. Perhaps best saved for their very own episode, real Canadian hip-hop heads know the influential lore of early 2000s DJ collective Baby Blue Sound Crew. Consisting of DJs Kid Cut, KLC, C-Boogie, and Singlefoot, Baby Blue Sound Crew were known across Toronto and the GTA as the premier mixtape DJs and were instrumental in introducing fans on both sides of the border to Canadian artists like Julie Black and Kana-Kana. So popular did Baby Blue Sound Crew become, they were even commissioned by Universal Music Canada to release a compilation mix album which included the likes of Nas, DMX, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, and more, shining a light on the likes of Black and Official with their collab track, Money Jane, also featured on Cardi's album Quest for Fire. Originally intended as just a Cardi-Julie joint, it was at the suggestion of Baby Blue Sound Crew members Kid Cut and KLC that the song be remixed to include a reggae artist that they had recently become a fan of. You guessed it, the one and only Sean Paul. Kid Cut even went to great expense to travel to Jamaica to obtain Paul's vocals and manually insert them into the mix, as the collective didn't have access to software like Pro Tools at the time. Money Jane is a great song about a wealthy woman who essentially supports her partner in every financial way possible and was a stark contrast to Sean Paul's previous effort. In a 2020 retrospective, Complex magazine noted that the track was ahead of its time in many ways. Amid the bitches and hoes era of rap, it celebrated its female subjects' entrepreneurial spirit and financial independence. With a killer hook from Julie Black, Money Jane was a hit here in Canada and would be nominated for a Juno Award for Rap Recording of the Year in 2001. While this was all excellent for Cardinal, Julie Black, and the Baby Blue Boys, it was really great for Sean Paul. Canada has often been used as a testing ground for artists that American record companies aren't quite sure if their own audiences will get yet. Backstreet Boys and Lady Gaga, put your hands up. And for Sean Paul, Money Jane's success was proof that the dancehall sound could be mainstream. Like no Sean Paul song before it, American radio finally was taking notice of Sean Paul, with Hot 97 and the likes putting the song in rotation. Furthermore, in a more tangible sense, Money Jane was also Sean Paul's first official music video. Shot in Toronto, it was directed by Canadian director Lil X and choreographed by Tanisha Scott. I'm sure their names won't come up in this episode again. According to Sean Paul's A&R at the time, Murray Elias, this was all well and good that Sean Paul's music was seen as a worthy investment. After all, Money Jane's success proved that he certainly could find himself a place on pop radio. But the track did admittedly follow a bit of a dancehall light formula that most major companies expected from dancehall and reggae artists. Simply put, as Elias and Harding would tell Vice, back in those days, the major labels didn't know what to do with a Jamaican reggae dancehall artist. The formula was to get it played on radio, make it sound like R&B. These dancehall beats can't work. But we were determined to let Sean be Sean, authentic Jamaican dancehall artist. I don't know, maybe for it all to work out, they just needed to see the light. A little peek behind the curtain here. Sean Paul has made some bangers, and it was an incredibly difficult decision to pick which song to cover for this episode, I'm going to be honest. In fact, you might be screaming right now, Temperature, Like Glue, Baby Boy featuring Beyonce. Or maybe you're thinking, Gimme the Light. It all started with Gimme the Light. And you know what? You would be absolutely right, which is why I'm going to dedicate a bit of time to it so that if we ever cover another Sean Paul song on Encore again, we still have some material to work with. Originally released as the more formal Give Me the Light in Jamaica in 2001, Gimme the Light gets its foundations from a 2001 dancehall rhythm, the buzz. A rhythm, simply summed up, is a pre-produced rhythm section used in dancehall music that can be the basis for countless songs. A copyright lawyer's nightmare, rhythms were essentially a free-for-all for artists who wanted to use them in the early days of dancehall, which is part of the reason why so many dancehall songs do use the same rhythm. Sean Paul explained to Much.
It came out of an economic problem, but then we started to love it because you get to hear your favorite DJs on the same hot rhythm. So if you love Capleton, if you love Sean Paul, if you love Beenie Man, you know, you can hear all of them, and it became a whole vibe, and that's the whole thing behind juggling in Jamaica.
And if you love the rhythm, play it over and over again, right?
Definitely.
For the most part, remixing and altering is done relatively sparingly by vocalists or DJs who use the rhythm as to respect the original rhythm's sound and feel. The buzz, originally conjured up in 2001 by Miami-based Jamaican production duo Black Shadow, is the rhythm foundation for no less than 12 songs, with many of them dancehall hits in their own right. Elephant Man's Haters Want a War and Sizzla's Pump Up, just to name a couple. But no song was bigger than Sean Paul's use of the buzz rhythm than Gimme the Light. Technically, the follow-up single to Money Jane, Gimme the Light, is an ode to smoking weed, hitting the club, and drinking Moet. An incredibly vibey song that's all at once laid back and a pump-up jam, the earworm of Just Gimme the Light and Pass the Dro became a universal club anthem, whether listeners understood the hydroponic marijuana references or not. A 14-year-old Ruby probably said she understood it, but let's be honest, she didn't. And don't worry, Nana, the clean version changes the lyric to start the show, so we're good. Sean Paul wasn't all that surprised that Gimme the Light caught on so quickly, by the way, as he told Namki Wanuka, good club music is just good club music.
Dancehall is like one of the biggest club musics in the world. It plays in clubs from Canada here to Europe to Japan, you know, the whole of the Caribbean, the whole of the United States. It plays South America, you know what I mean, in every club. So it's a club music now. And that's what we're doing, club music.
For the Gimme the Light video, Sean Paul called up the director from Toronto he knew wouldn't let him down, the always fantastic Lil X and choreographer Tanisha Scott. Wait a second, they did come up again. The straight-up dance video shot on glowing white set pieces was nothing groundbreaking, but finally put a face and a visual vibe to the world's newest hitmaker. Gimme the Light went to number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100, which was enough for Atlantic Records to officially jump on board with Sean Paul and sign him up to a joint agreement with VP Records. The label, for what it's worth, according to Elias and Paul, wanted eventual single Like Glue to be the next song to attempt world domination. A great track, no doubt, but Sean Paul knew that it was time to strike with a song that he felt was an absolute sure thing. It was time to get busy. For his next single, Sean Paul would stay true to his dancehall roots and source the producer of Jamaica's hottest rhythm, Stephen Lanky Marsden. Lanky was a relative newcomer to the dancehall pantheon of rhythm makers, but his new Diwali rhythm was an absolute banger back home. Here's Sean Paul, his brother, and Jeremy Harding speaking with Vice about how much of a chokehold Diwali had on the scene.
Anybody would drop that track, the whole place would start clapping because it has these claps.
And it had elements of Indian Bhangra music and the percussion and the rhythmic structure.
I'm like, yo, this is dope. What is this?
Everything for everybody was on it. You had the gangster records, you had party records, you had the romantic records.
Bounty Killer, Sufferer, T.O.K., Girl and Girl, Wayne Wonder, No Letting Go.
He came up with so much different ways to play that rhythm. The same backbeat, the same drum and bass. And all of them were hits, man.
Sean moved quickly to work directly with Lanky, who was also nicknamed Reggae Jesus, thanks to his light skin and long hair, in his tiny studio for a more custom approach to the Diwali rhythm. For Get Busy, Lanky worked far more as a traditional producer for Paul, finding the exact right vocal melodies that complemented his hit rhythm so that Sean Paul's now iconic flow would stand out from the pack of other artists dropping their interpretations on his beat.
And Lanky was like, I want you to do the verses like this.
And I said to Sean, we're going to make it sound just different, you know, kind of creepy.
Lanky was showing me these chords of how to move my voice in the rhythm. Get busy.
I said, Sean, I'm going to give you the melody. Get busy and shake that booty and and then I gave him some harmonies.
Shake that booty and just keep singing it. So they cross like this. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. He's going crazy.
With the melodies on point, thanks to the minds of Sean Paul and Lanky, when it came to the lyrics of Get Busy, you have brother Paul to thank for at least some of them. Sean's brother, Jason Enriquez, often sat with him at the top of the hill in Jamaica to clear their heads and spitball ideas to each other. On one fateful day, they were discussing options for lyrics for Paul's next hit. He would tell Vice,
My brother and me, we used to go up on a hill and just talk about the business, talk about life. One of those times was me asking him his advice on these lyrics I had for Get Busy. And he chipped in and said, I think the chorus needs to be this.
Sexy ladies on par with us, care with us. Like, I didn't even have the whole sentence. It was just rhyming words. I was just throwing at him. And he was like, yeah, that's too simple. I don't know. Honestly, I left there thinking, he's not going to use that.
But of course, Sean did use it. The life lesson here is you can always count on your siblings to help you write a smash hit single. Or babysit. Probably more likely to just babysit. Thank you, Jack. And the family affair wouldn't stop there. One of the fun little quirks of Get Busy is in the opening refrain of the song, the shout-outs to 4 mystery women, Kana, Annabella, Jody, and Rebecca. Turns out, at least 2 of those women, Kana and Jody, are real people. Jody, Sean Paul's then-girlfriend and now wife, is the most obvious one. But Kana...
From the hill to the studio, my present wife calls me. She was my girlfriend at the time. She said, where you going? And she was with her friend. I'm like, I'm going to the studio. And her friend is like, oh, put my name in the song. And I said, okay, Kana, I got you, girl.
Sadly, I couldn't figure out who Annabella is in this fine tale, but Rebecca, well, she very well could be you, dear listener.
And I cannot tell you how much Rebeccas have come to me over the years. And it's like, I'm Rebecca. I'm like, thanks for putting my name in the song.
As for the rest of the song, well, I think it's pretty obvious by now that there was a ton of mainstream intrigue in trying to decipher the patois and Jamaican slang mixed with hip-hop and American slang casually dropped in Get Busy, with Harding and Paul humoring Vice with some of the more obvious inclusions.
Most people outside of Jamaica can't understand the lyrics. They'll understand 1 and 2 little phrases. Shake that booty, American slang. Let the beat drop, hip-hop slang. Oh, you know what? We understand this guy. Like, we don't understand him because he's in Jamaican patois. We don't really get the whole record, but this is working for us.
Get busy just means to get down. Like, let's stop the foolishness and party. It's a serious job here.
But way back in 2002, many new and uninitiated fans of Sean Paul's work were having quite the time trying to decode the mixed dialect lyrics. Luckily, the nation's music station was here to provide a helpful, if mildly patronizing, explainer with Sean Paul himself. Here's Rick Campanelli.
That explains that. The day me born, Jah ignite me flame gala. What's everyone laughing about?
Because you didn't finish the sentence. It said, from the day my born, Jah ignite my flame, gala call my name, and it is my fame. What I'm saying is that from the day I was born, God gave me inspiration, and girls been calling my name from that time, and that's my fame. That's what I'm saying.
Thanks, Rick. But before we all chuckle too hard, it's extremely important to note how much influence Canadian culture also had on Get Busy. That's right. Aside from the props owed to the aforementioned Baby Blue sound crew, Sean Paul Enriquez is legit honorary Canadian with strong familial ties to Toronto. He would tell Much's Jennifer Hollett.
My grandfather moved here in 1977. My mom had her family already in Jamaica, but my brother was born up here. She came up here and had my brother, so that's the connection. I mean, I spent, I would say, quite a few summers here when I was a kid, checking grandpa and, you know, the peeps up here, all my family. Big up my family, by the way. The Lees, you know, bless.
So it should come as no surprise that Sean Paul was more than comfortable trekking up to Woodbridge, Ontario to reconnect with Lil X and Tanisha Scott, there they are again, when it was time to shoot the video for Get Busy. The iconic video, which depicts a lively suburban basement party in the dead of Toronto winter, complete with an angry grandpa just trying to enjoy his dinner upstairs who commandeers the DJ mic to tell those crazy kids to stop banging on the damn furnace, is actually canonically set in Toronto. Sean Paul explained to Nam Kiwanuka on the set of Get Busy that the presence of a large Caribbean diaspora in Toronto provided them with a very unique opportunity to depict the life of Caribbean youth outside of their home country.
Well, basically, this is X's hometown, and I got strings attached here too, so yeah, we just, we're kind of doing it here because it's like, it's mainly, also there's a lot of Caribbean kids in this part of in T-Dot. And so that they can represent a good vibe in the video, Jamaican youths and Caribbean peoples. You know what I'm saying? To show the rest of the world what's this dancing about. Basically, it's like, as a Caribbean household, it's dedicated to all those people who have left the warm country and up here in the cold. You know what I'm saying? You've been to this house party before where everybody's on the sweaters and it's still hot. And we're trying to remain back like home. Underneath there is musty and, just like a real vibe like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just a house. We came to this house, someone's house. We was in their basement. We appreciate that they're helping us out this way. So, giving it a real vibe like a basement, I want kids out there to feel like, yo, I've been to that party, I've been there, that's me. There's the pipes in the ceiling, it's all just street and just backyard kind of thing.
Now, I know that in the decades that would follow, Lil X, who became Director X, and Drake would go on to work together on some seriously iconic Toronto-themed videos. But Drake's a hometown boy. It's almost to be assumed that he'd rep the city. Sean Paul has legitimately been repping Toronto before it was cool for no other reason than he thought it was cool. By May of 2003, Get Busy was a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 of its 32 weeks on the list. It would also top the Hot R&B and Hip Hop charts, despite not being either of those things, as well as the Rhythmic chart. The song would go double platinum here in Canada, while Duddy Rock, the album, would go triple platinum here and in the States. Eventually, Atlantic would flex their major label muscle, and in 2003, Duddy Rock would be re-released to cater to more international markets by replacing the interstitial skits on the record with a collaboration with an up-and-coming solo artist who had just released her debut album a few months earlier. You may have heard of her. Her name was Beyonce, and the song was the super smash hit Baby Boy that, if looking at chart performance alone, was technically a more successful #1 hit than Get Busy, with 9 whole weeks at #1. The video also gave us Beyonce's amazing dance break in the sand. Listen, I don't have time to go on and on, but you can hear more about another Beyonce song from that era, Crazy in Love, in our archives, so make sure you go check that out. Sean Paul would also go on to win a well-deserved Best Reggae Album at the 2004 Grammy Awards. The success came fast and furious for Sean Paul post Get Busy. His follow-up album, The Trinity, spawned 5 more singles, including the iconic tracks We Be Burnin', Give It Up To Me, and of course another #1 in Temperature. Paul would collab with a young Rihanna on her second album, A Girl Like Me, with the hit Break It Off, before achieving sporadic mainstream success as a featured artist over the years, most notably in 2016 when he was featured on Sia's massive track Cheap Thrills and the sleeper hit Rockabye with Clean Bandit and Anne Marie. More recently, Sean Paul has been endeavoring to make sure the Earth stays at the right temperature and has become a bit of a climate change activist as an ambassador for climate in the Caribbean since 2018. Speaking with Sky News, Sean Paul explained that although he'd originally thought of climate change that was something far away and not something to be immediately alarmed about, the gradual loss of beaches in his beloved Jamaica due to rising water levels has sparked him into action. In another interview with ITV, he said, lessening your carbon footprint, each person, that's a good thing, and more you can pressure your government about it. I have made the move to make my whole house solar powered, from the water to all the lights, and it runs my studio as well. So that's been an awesome move. So sure, while he's not topping as many charts these days, Sean Paul has certainly been getting busy by using his powers for good. My name is Ruby Carr. Thank you so much for listening to Encore. Make sure you give us a follow so you never miss an episode. New ones every Thursday.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Download the free iHeartRadio app and subscribe.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.